Good morning, my friends. It's Jack here with Cowboat Farm, and I want to do just a little quick kind of tour of the garden here now in the middle of May. We're getting closer to the end. We're probably 10 or 12 days out to go into June. So I want to show you the product that is kind of going on. We're already getting some little bitty squashes and tomatoes on some stuff, and so just here's a little look at it. We have lots of blooms, and for those of you who haven't seen the other videos, the tomatoes are on these cattle panels, which go up a good 7 foot or more, and I just have them tied on. And I am telling you, this year has been one of the most challenging years that I have dealt with tomatoes, because the aphids and the little bitty white flies have been atrocious. Like, I have to come out here every single day, and I have a lot of these plants, and I am really taking the hose and just washing them, because I have tried other things, but they have damaged these plants a good bit. But I'm watching them and keeping an eye out on them and trying to keep the aphids off when I can find them. I don't see any particularly right here on this plant, but I can look at 2 or 3 plants and there'll be nothing, and then one plant itself will be covered up in something. But it looks pretty good. Lots of blooms coming up here. I was trying to see if I saw, there's a few little aphids right there, and a lot of times I'll just smash them with my fingers. Just come in here and take the leaf and rub it like this and just make sure they're dead, so that they're not multiplying. And then going from there, I just hose it off or whatever, because that seems to get them off quicker than anything. There's my little Jennifer. What are you doing? You hussy? It's my little escape chicken from every day she gets out. I just don't want her to find out that she can come over here and kick in all this beautiful stuff, because she will be having a heyday. So these are the spaghetti squash, and they are going up, up, up. There are lots of little bitty squashes forming. There's a lot of leaves. Here's a little squash. Lots of leaves, lots of flowers coming on. And then I plugged in some basils, and these are some pepper plants as well stuck in there. Let's see if we see. There's another one of the little spaghetti squashes forming. I have some tomatoes over here that are just in a random place. I'm trying those varieties stuck over there. We do have a lot of squash forming on our yellow squash. All of our plants pretty much have squash on them. Some of them aren't developing as well, but some of them are doing really, really well. And I think I'm going to pull this plant, because it does not look good from the start, like from the seedling after I put it in. So I'm going to pull this one out and probably just put something else here, maybe another couple of squash seeds, and see what we can get. But I have been coming out here and checking all my leaves. Look at the amount of squash on these already. They're doing so good for so small of a plant. There's at least 12 squash on this tiny little plant. But I come and check all my plants. There's a little, that's just a spider, which is fine. He can stay there. But I look for the bug eggs on the leaves, and there's a little insect as well. We're okay with some of these guys. Some of these guys are good to be here. You don't want to run off all your pests. But just looking from the top, I don't see any eggs right now, but they do really like to get underneath these leaves. And the only few squash bugs that I have seen so far were over here on my patty pan squash. And I've killed 4 on this one plant right here, but look at that guy. It was actually supposed to be a different kind of squash, and somehow I ended up mixing my seedlings up and getting a patty pan over here, which is fine. But that's a pretty big size squash already on this itty bitty plants compared to. And then we have another little patty pan squash over here, and it's getting several little squashes. Can you see those down there? They're developing really well. I have a couple of climbing zucchini over here, and they just don't seem to be doing much, but my seeds were really old, so I may order some more seeds and just plug them in here just for the heck of it. We got cilantro going to seed, and I love the cilantro going to seed because the way that it puts the flowers out, it brings so many pollinators to the garden. That's why I leave all of this kind of intertwined in here, just because it brings the pollinators that love the umbrella shape flower. And I do love having a mixture of all kinds of bugs in my garden as well. Except for the bad ones. We do not want those. And that's why we have this little bucket of soapy water right here, so that I can walk around and pick off pests and put them in the soapy water. When it gets real bad, right now it's just looking pretty good. I've got to come out here and weed. All the rain has made weeds pop up in there. But I've got some basils plugged in here. These tomatoes got off to a slower start because I had collard greens planted here, and they were blocked from the sun for a while. So they're coming about, and I'm fine with them kind of having a little bit of a delay, because that way I don't have 800 tomato plants at one time that all have tomatoes on them, which I will have at some point. But I'm gonna have basils plugged in here, and here's my beautiful little rogue sunflower. She's looking like she's gonna get a little head on her pretty soon. But every one of these little branches will put out more flowers, and they will all have multi heads on them. But this little sunflower grows every year here. It's not the same one, but it reseeds every year right here in the gravel, and I like it. And it will get 12 to 15 feet tall sometimes, depending on what year it is and the rain and everything. It's pretty cool. Here we have some muncher cucumbers. They're blooming pretty well. This little runner guy is gonna have to be pinned up because I did not catch him early enough, but we can make a whole nother plant out of that. I mean, it'll go up there. I've got 5 cucumbers on this trellis, and that's a lot because they will take over. So I do prune them. Once they get up on here, I will take some of the leaves off. There's a little cucumber right there. Little cucumber. Little tiny cucumber. And then I have some pepper plants plugged in here. And I think these are lipstick peppers in the front right here. And then I think I put jalapeno back there on the back. This is why I say mark your stuff, because I kind of don't remember. But with a pepper, you're going to know once it grows what it is. These are my spoon tomatoes, and like I had mentioned before, these little guys reseed and come back every year. And then we have this huge horseradish plant that I need to move out of this bed because it's completely taken over. And then these are my little grape tomatoes that are coming up on this cattle panel here. I have pole limas. I didn't plant a lot of them. I just planted a few because I'm not sure if I even like them. So I'm going to grow a few this year and see if I like them. And then we'll go from there. And then I came in and put some tomatoes up under this hoop and just tied some strings so I can tie them kind of at an angle going up away from the actual panel itself until it gets to the top. And we're going to go from there. And I got a little watermelon planted right here, and this is one of the Jubilees, I think. Got some nasturtium plugged in here and there. I really wanted more nasturtium, but I did not get them all planted, and they're still in a container over there. There's a little horseradish trying to come up there, because once you plant horseradish somewhere with the tubers underneath, you can never get rid of it really. So I made that mistake. There's another one over there trying to come up right between those, right at the bottom of that. Terrible stuff. These are hardy kiwi vines, and I've had those for almost 3 years now. So I'm hoping that this year they may do something, or next year they'll put out some fruit. We're gonna see. They're really pretty though, as well. These squash are taking over. I put 3 little squash plants right here. And this is a red curry squash. And it's looking really well. This is where I have found a lot of pests as well. But right now it looks pretty good. Like, I'm coming out every morning, and then I check back in the evening, because some pests come out in the evening and some come out in the morning. And I do me a check for both. And I just saw a squash. Oh, there we are. There's a little squash coming on right there with the bloom. Beautiful blooms. The bees love squash blooms. I have some little homeless looking zucchini plants over here, but this is a whole oregano bed, so surprise, surprise. This is my little medical herb bed that I put little flowers out here in the middle so that there are some pollinators coming to this part, because not all the vegetables have blooms constantly. So we want to have blooms constantly around the area, even if it's not like in the same bed. It'll bring like pollinators to the place. But there's a whole bunch of grass right there I gotta come get out. And this is a butterfly weed, which is good for pleurisy. So you can use the root as a tea, and it helps with lung inflammation. These are coreopses, and they can be used for different things. And there's echinacea, which is your immune system, virus killer, things like that. This time of year, right now, if I was going to harvest it, I would harvest the leaves, because the leaves have all the nutrition in them right now as it's coming up. Now, they're about to get blooms, then you would use the blooms. And then when it gets to the fall, when the blooms die off, you would use the roots. So there are different times of the year that you use different parts of the plant. I have learned that the blossoms and the leaves, they work pretty well. They're not quite as strong as the root itself, but they're easier to harvest. And I would rather just use them since they're above the ground and I don't have to dig them up and things like that. So that works out pretty good for me. The onion patch looks pretty good. It's all going to seed this year, mostly, which is kind of dingy because I have a few that are not. I have a few new plants down there, but not that many new ones this year. So I can still harvest this and come out here and get little pieces and all of that. I have some zinnias. That is some basil that I just threw over here in a patch, and that's the Malabar spinach. Malabar spinach is supposed to be a very hardy, it's supposed to be a perennial with spinach, I think, but it's supposed to be a very hardy spinach as far as like heat tolerant, because most spinaches are not heat tolerant. And so this is one that I'm trying this year. I grew it a couple years ago, but I just neglected it and it did not do very well. I mean, it grew fine. I just never harvested, and it went to seed, and then I did save some of the seeds, so there was always that. And then these are zinnias planted in here, and then I got a couple of rogue tomatoes that I plugged in toward the end of the season. Toward the end of the seedling season. And then this is another tomato bed that I have the big tomatoes on, and I had truly intended on having one stem going up and me pruning it, and I came out here and still somehow missed a couple. And like, I was out here last night or yesterday afternoon, and I totally missed this little guy. I was pruning and missed him, so I will come back in a little while and cut that off. But then I don't know what happened to this guy. He's just struggling down here because all of his friends are up here, and that's probably a dud plant, which is okay because I can let one of these go double stem and put it in its place instead. This one double stemmed on me. Some branch really low, and sometimes you don't catch it because it'll be right at the beginning. And like this one, the first thing it did was give me a why. And I mean, what do you do about that? You just kind of go with it. Then I have some little beans plugged in on the front of this bed and the front of the bed over there. Tomatillos, and these things are loaded already with tomatillos. And these are the purple tomatillos. And I will give you one guess. The number one pest for these is a leaf-footed bug. They absolutely love, they love nightshades, but they love tomatoes. But if these tomatillos are planted by the tomatoes, they'll go to them over the tomatoes because they like them better. And they honestly like the purple tomatillos better than the green tomatillos. I don't know if it's a color thing and it draws them to it or what, but I have seen zero pests so far on this. I have seen some on other things, but I see a lot of ants, and that's okay because that means they're eating the aphids off of my plants. And there's a aphid right there. She's a little fat one. You can see her. This is a little red aphid. Kill it. But there are little green aphids. There are red aphids. There are all kinds of different colors going on in there. They're not, you know, just one color. There's lots of things. I think that's why people miss the whole count with them, is because they're looking for something that's one thing, like just green aphids. Well, I know the green ones are there because I can see the little pinkish red ones. Here's my wild and crazy, crazy bed with all of the things in it. This is Queen Anne's lace, which still has this beautiful umbrella flower, brings in lots of pollinators. I don't know what all we have in here. We have a huge ant bed. We have some catnip growing up over here. There's a mum down there. There's some cosmos or asters. There's some yarrow. There's yarrow everywhere out here. If you look in the grass, these are all going to be yarrows and Queen Anne's lace growing out here. And I've got some mums plugged into the corners, and then my clematis, the purple and the white. And I thought I had some zinnias out here, but I don't see them. Oh, there they are right there. There's some chamomile just randomly growing. There's zinnias down there. This is tarragon. There's zinnias popping up all in the tarragon. There's some black-eyed Susan or rutabaga, the wild kind that grows on the side of the road that gets like 10 feet tall. There's a little sunflower, more yarrow, more zinnias. They're just plugged in here and there, and that's just weeds. But it's good pollinators as well, even the weeds. The dogs have knocked over my blocks and stuff, or my husband did one, and don't know. There's some more of the rutabaga right here, and then some weeds around that. But this is overwhelming. Like, I don't even know how to weed this, so I'll just kind of walk away. I have so neglected my strawberry beds, but we're going to do something different next year. So I think I'm going to take all the baby plants that grow off of this, and I'm going to root them in some pots, and then I'm going to redo all of these beds next year and get rid of all of these guys that are, there's some good strawberries though still hanging in there. But this is too weedy, and I've got to do something different so that I don't have all these weeds. These are some cucumbers growing over here. Cucumbers, peppers. We've got baby peppers coming on. There's different kinds of peppers on either side of this. There's jalapenos on this side, and there's the Chinese 5-color pepper on that side. But I've got to come out here also and tie these cucumbers up with just a little bit more. This tomato right here and this tomato right here, I don't know what kind of tomato it is. No idea. It's got some pretty tomatoes on it. But it just decided to grow right there this year from last year. And so we're just going to let it do its thing. And I'm going to come out here and prune it and let it go up the trellis as well as the cucumbers. And we had some damage, I don't know what, to some of the peppers, but it was just a certain variety of pepper The rest of the peppers look great, but for some reason something wanted these Fresno chili peppers and came out here and kind of took them out. But they seem to be doing a little bit better and putting back out again. But like this cucumber is going into my pepper plant, so I need it to go up here. So I need to get some pantyhose and come tie them up a little bit better. This is nothing but, oh, it is something. It is turnip greens. Yes, it's turnip greens, and they are just roguely wild everywhere because one time I planted them, and then from there on out, they have been taking over my whole entire yard. Some really nice looking cucumbers. These are I think these are the homemade pickles over here. And I don't know the difference. The beds have the same thing in them, but the cucumbers on this side and the cucumbers on this side these are smaller. A few of them have gotten up a little taller, but compared to these, it's crazy that they have gotten this tall and those other ones are so little. There's a little beetle in there. It's not a ladybug, it's an orange ladybug is what I call it, but I think it's called a Chinese beetle or something. I'm not a Japanese beetle. I don't know. There's so many different names for them. And it's not like the Japanese beetle that flies around and eats all your leaves. That's something totally different. But that little orange ladybug is what I call it, just so I don't mix them all up. We'll come back to this little section because it's a mess. I'm gonna try to see if I see any. I don't want to see any pests, but you know, for the sake of all the stuff, I'd like to see something. There's another patty pan squash coming on right here. I'm actually really glad that there isn't pest galore this year, but we're also not in the total pest season yet. Oh, here we go. There. That is eggs. And these eggs are most likely leaf-footed bug eggs. Look like this, but since these are on a squash, I'm going to go with a squash bug, which means there are adult squash bugs somewhere around. But look at these little patty pans. They're so cute. Patty pan squash are good for like cutting the top off and just putting them in the oven and baking them. You can add like some bacon and cheese to it, and it tastes delicious. Oh, look at that one. That's a good looking patty pan. It'll be ready here this week. I gotta get some ant stuff because they're coming in here and piling up on the side. So I'm gonna try see, they're just coming in and piling up around my plants, and they will kill the roots of my plants. If they they really won't hurt the plants necessarily, but they will like move the roots around, and sometimes the plant dies. These are more zinnias that are ginormous, and there's a squash plugged in back here. I gotta remember to come get those squash bug eggs off when I get done. The amount of zinnias, and these zinnias are the salmon zinnias. Look at that little snail. Get out there. And there are green beans planted across this trellis as well. These are all green beans. These are Cherokee purple green beans, and they're going to climb up and do the arch thing. And these over here are the Blue Lake pole beans. But these are the ones that came back from last year where the seeds just fell on the ground, and I just kind of let them do their thing. So they're coming back on their own. And there was a bunch of them out here, and I just dug them up and planted them inside the bed. Just plugged them in there. Zinnia is going to open soon, but we have one open over here. We have some zucchini plugged in and over here with the zinnias. But that's my first zinnia of the year. Nice, but these things are huge. And these all came back on their own. I did not plant any of these. And then I stopped putting green beans to here because there were so many zinnias that I just left them there. These are, I forgot what variety. I think these are the Italian stripy zucchini. Yeah, looks like Italian stripy zucchini. Here's some. There's a little zucchini. And there's a little zucchini hiding behind that leaf. And I will get this because I don't need all of that growing in my flower bed. I see several coming along. Sometimes it takes these a little while to get taken off, and sometimes they just immediately take off. And this one decided it was going to go this way and this way. And usually I tie them up, so I don't know what to do about that. Maybe just let it run across the side, but it can't get out, because if it comes out, then definitely gonna have issues with my husband weed eating it down. Here's my little mullein patch right now. They're looking good. I had to get them up off the ground as well because my husband likes to weed eat them down, and I'm well aware that they will get atrociously big, and this is way too many for one bed, but I don't mind if they're crowded. They don't really care if they're crowded, so we'll just bunch them all up there together and be able to harvest leaves before too long. I'm getting to the end of the season on the chamomile. Getting lots of seeds. I'm probably going to package up some seeds on a dry day. I'm going to come out here and collect some seeds up, so if anybody needs some seeds, let me know. We don't even have these filled with dirt yet. I have weeds and my peppermint. The good thing about the peppermint is mint will take over, and so then I don't have to really worry about the weeds coming up. And this is just a weed bed with nothing but weeds in it, because that's the only thing that I have time to put in there right now. I didn't actually put them in there. This is a mixture of lemon basil and lemon balm. And next year I'll have to put the lemon basil somewhere else, but these just kind of reseeded themselves from last year and are coming along the edges, so I need to come out here and harvest because these are already about to put on some flowers. This one already has a flower on it. It's early in the season for that. We'll go into the rose hedge garden and take a look at what's going on in there. It's still so wet out here. So wet. This is one of my most favorite gardens this year. I do have to keep the dogs out, so I have to put some cattle panels up. They still get in here, but right now I have loofah planted on this archway, and so hopefully we will get some of that. I'm actually going to try to eat some of it when it's young, because what I found out from someone is that it's called Chinese or Japanese, I think it's Chinese runner okra. And if you order running okra from Chinese and you pick it little, it's supposed to taste like okra. So it's also called Chinese running okra, is what I have learned. And I don't have anything planted in the shade yet. I mean, it's not shady yet, but I want to plant something later on down here. But I put loofah on both sides so it can come up. And yeah, there's probably way too much, but my seeds were old and I wasn't sure they were going to come up, and then pretty much all of them did. So yeah, there's that. And then we have our tomatoes planted along this. And like I said, some of my tomatoes look good. Some of them are little. That one, I'm guessing that's a no-go. And I don't have any more of this type, so I'll just have to leave it. I'll just have to pull it up. We do have some little cherry tomatoes developing. Here's some sweetheart cherry tomatoes. And we have a couple little babies coming on there. And then more ants, of course, because in the south, that's all we have is ants. These are some cherry tomatoes. There's some tomatoes coming on right there. Love to see some tomatoes. This one has a lot of little tomatoes on it. And these are the large cherry tomatoes, so they get, you know, they're like a good quartering tomato for a salad. So they come out pretty good. I want to plug in more okra. I did plant okra in here, and it's sporadic. But like I said, my seeds were a little bit older, so I just wanted to give it a shot. And a lot of them did come up, but I think we can go back in and plug in some more and get some more coming up through here instead of just this amount. And then we have grass growing in my rocks already. Like, I don't even know how that happens, but as soon as I get it down, it's like, oh, here's just a new place to grow. These tomatoes are the large variety of tomatoes. That whole line over there is cherry tomatoes, and these are the large variety of tomatoes. And these are Arkansas Travelers, Big Rainbow, Bonnie's Best, and then I forgot what, Goldie or something down there maybe. But the upside of the hill actually has bigger tomato plants than the bottom side of the hill. So these are all really interesting things that I'm learning. I don't know. I put the exact same dirt in all of these beds, so it's kind of like what's going on. These are some basils that volunteered back from last year. This is that mammoth basil, so it has really big leaves. They will get like the size of like a piece of lettuce, a big lettuce. Then there's some watermelons growing up here, and I'm gonna grow them up. That was a mosquito. I'm trying out my citronella lotion that I made today, so mosquito landed on me, but it did leave. So these are the something another sweet crimson watermelons. They're just the little round watermelons. These are actually cantaloupes, and I need to tie those up as well. These are Brad's Crazy Cherry Tomato, which are a lovely variety of tomato. They're just really fun and got some bold colors. I'll try to put a picture to show you what they look like if you've never seen them. And then we got our Moon and Star watermelons as well, and I'm trying to get them to go up. And I have got to come out here and get rid of this guy. That is my poison ivy plant that has been here and will not go away. Like, I keep trying to get it to, vinegar's not doing it, and I cut it down. I've just been cutting it and pulling it off, but I'm highly allergic to this, and when I look at it, I'm probably going to get it on my hands already just because I looked at it. But it needs to be taken care of, and I do not want to spray any poisons out here, so that is out of the question. So trying to find something to kill this is really difficult, and I've been battling the same little vine for a couple years now, and it's annoying. Look at how big this is. The lettuce leaf basil. This is the mammoth basil, and this is the lettuce leaf, which actually curls like lettuce. But the leaves on these things are ginormous. Pretty cool. I love when stuff reseeds itself and I don't even have to deal with it. But yeah, guys, that's a kind of an overlook at the whole thing. The cucumber trellis, the little cottage garden, the closed-in garden, the rose hedge garden, the bean tunnels, and yeah, that's just down here in the field. And you can see in the distance, way up there, my house and the vineyard out there. That's all the muscadines and scuppernines. So that's all the grape vineyard. It goes on and on and on and on, and we are never done. And I know that my husband is always like, can we just be done? Are you ever going to get finished? And I'm like, there's no finished when it comes to gardening. It's always adding something new. So I went back and tied these up so that they were up off the ground. All the blooms are showing now. Get it away from the pepper plants. And in doing it, I discovered my first little pickling cucumber, which this is not a Wisconsin. I got this one from over there, which is a homemade pickle. And I've got a few more that are gonna be ready fairly soon that I saw while I was over here. See if I can find them. Like a needle in the haystack when you go to looking for green on green. But right in here somewhere, I saw another one. And then over here we have some more already coming on to the plant. There's one, pretty good sized one coming up. So the smaller plants actually have already started producing fruit versus the ones on this side. So just a little add-in. Thought that was interesting. The calendulas look very pretty. This is the Pacific mix. And then this in here is holy basil, which is very, very good. Especially I add it into my immunity blends and things like that. But it is such a powerhouse plant. Then we have some lamb's quarters growing back here, which just come back every year. They're just a weed that grows in my yard. And they have a lot of nutritional value. I think it's like 10 times the amount of nutrients that's in spinach is in lamb's quarters. And it's really easy to grow, and it's a very invasive weed, which if you're hungry, it's not a bad thing. I'll try to link a description thing to this somewhere, so you can take a look at it for yourself. But didn't want to miss out on these beautiful flowers as we were doing our garden tour. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that. That's just a little walkthrough of what I got going on here in the garden as of the middle of May. So I will touch base later, and we'll talk about something else. Hope you have a blessed day.